All right. Well, good morning, as it is still morning time for me at least. You may be listening to this in the evening. So if that's the case, then good evening. In any case, my name is Robert Farrell, licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas, working in and around the Montgomery County Conroe area. In any case, this is Welcome to Supervision. This is a series designed for my LPC associates that I'm supervising to help them continue developing and growing. If you are one of my supervisees, then I have probably asked you to watch this video. If you are not one and you stumble across it and find these, then by all means enjoy them. Hopefully you'll gain insight and understanding for yourself. The purpose of this is, of course, to improve the quality of the counselor that comes out of the supervision programs that are available. And this is also a way for me to improve my skills as a supervisor, causing me to reteach myself things so I can make sure that they get them as well. Any case, uh, welcome to Supervision. This is episode on case presentation. This is actually paired with the case conceptualization, the biopsychosocial, and consultation videos sections. So this is going to be really a discussion about how to present your case if you are working at a facility such as a psychiatric hospital, a PHP program, an IOP program. If you're in a environment where you have access to your psychiatrist, your RNs, LMSWs, LCSWs, LMFTs. If you're working in a team environment, the case presentation is kind of an important aspect. And so you want to know how to do that properly. You're going to want to present it effectively. And from my experience, the way we do that is through an oral presentation that is kind of structured. And that way you're giving the basic information that really needs to be in there. Now, I said it's a part of the biopsychosocial and case conceptualization aspects, and it really is, and you'll see that in just a moment. Okay, so what is needed? Well, basically, what you're going to be doing is kind of following an outline of your intake assessment, your biopsychosocial. This is how it's connected to that one. And it's also connected to the case conceptualization because this information is a part of that. Now, what's different is that your case conceptualization also contains more about the theory that you're using, how you're going about your treatment planning. So that would be connected to that aspect. Also, with the consultation, this information would also be needed because you would be providing it in the consultation aspect. So what you'd be doing is providing these things to the person you're consulting with. So if you're an LPC and you're consulting with an LCSW or an LMFT or a psychologist or your psychiatrist that's on the team, they're going to want to hear a good bit of this information as well. Each one will pick up on different qualities to it, but they're going to want to hear the same amount of information. So let's get back to what is needed. You're going to have your client demographics, age, gender, ethnicity, that kind of stuff. Their living situation, who are they living with, how many people are in the home, their family history, their family of origin, some of that background information, their current family, who are they living with, how many people are involved, any addiction histories. Now I've got it kind of split here. I've got addiction history there. That's about the family. The client's addiction history and substance use history is later on. Also, the family mental health history, what's going on. The client's ACE report, the adverse childhood experiences, you want to put that in there as well. History of education, employment, military, legal, that all kind of helps to develop our picture. And now we're into the client's substance use themselves, any treatment history they've been through, what have they done in the past, medications. This is where your nurse and your psychiatrist are going to be really kind of hinging. They need to know that information, so you definitely want to have that in there. Suicide or self-harm history, spirituality and faith, those are important aspects that adds more to the holistic image and picture of the person you're sharing. There are activities of daily living that include sleep, nutrition, hygiene, those aspects. Now, so far that is the line of your intake assessment, your biopsychosocial information. Now, if you have, let's say, a client that you've been working with for several months, the biopsychosocial information doesn't really change. That's all past history. That is just static history. It's not going to alter very much as long as they were open and honest with you when you gathered it. So you can kind of go back and pull on that because you want to be able to show them the full image. Remember, I'm using the expression of image. Well, some of these people, if you're doing a consultation with them, they've never met your client. They don't know what they look like. They don't know what they sound like. They don't know how their physical presentation and appearance is. You need to present them enough information so they can make an intelligent, educated discussion about what you're dealing with. Because in the consultation part of it, you're going to be also adding in your assessment, what you think is going on. Also, what you have tried in the past. What kind of techniques have you done? What areas that you've actually worked on. And then also, what is starting to appear to be an issue? What areas are you needing help with that you're struggling with regards to the client in your therapeutic relationship and that quality of the person's, we're stuck and I'm not sure how to proceed. This is not a issue to be afraid of. Admit when you run into problems, admit you're stuck. It is okay. None of us can ever be experts in everything we run into. It's just not possible. There's just too many things that we run into. And so don't be surprised in the first 10 years of your being a counselor that you will run into situations and problems and scenarios and issues where the client is struggling, and you may also be struggling with what do I do with them. This is an important aspect of your own self-awareness to be open about it. There's no shame in that, okay? If you're working with another counselor and they are shaming you for not knowing something, then shame on them, really, because your job is to help the client. And sometimes that means humbling ourselves to say, I don't know everything. I can't. Okay. Having said that, what I'm going to do now is go into an actual presentation for you to listen to, okay? And that will take several minutes of time itself. I'm going to cover these issues, and you'll be able to listen to it. Feel free to take notes if you want so that you can get an idea of what's kind of going on so you can formulate how you would suggest to me what I could do, okay? Here's where your theory comes into play on how you can use the theory to the advantage of the client, all right? So I'm going to pause here and we'll go to the next window and we'll get the presentation started. Okay, so thanks for letting me consult with you on this case. My client is Mae West. Much of this is going to be fictionalized, by the way. So Mae is a 38-year-old white female born January 1st, 1900. When asked what brought her into counseling, she told me that her husband had moved out and that they were having some family problems. He's been using drugs and she's struggling with some emotions. She reports that she's been in counseling previously. The first time was in 1955, and that she went for several months, and then the second time was several months later. Currently, she's living at home with her husband and 2 children. Um, he didn't exactly move out, even though she said that's what he did. She moved upstairs. So the family of origin, so her family, she was the youngest out of 3 kids. Father's name is Northwest. He passed away about 4 years ago, and they were not really close. Mother, Southwest, she's really close with mom, and mom is still alive. Parents divorced when she was 17, but she had run away from home when she was 16. Relationship, there were some strained relationships between mom and dad. It had a real difficult, traumatic childhood that I'll go into in a moment. So the 2 sisters that she had included April and June, and April's 2 years older, June is 4 years younger, and she said the relationship with them was pretty good actually. Discipline in the house growing up was mostly from mother and father, but she said it was much more severe from her father. Whenever he would be under the influence of a substance, she received a lot of physical abuse. There is a history of family addictions. Father used a lot of heroin when they were growing up. He did get clean shortly, a few years before he died, and entered into prison ministry work. There's also a family history of mental illness. Both sister June and dad were diagnosed as schizophrenia, bipolar type, and there is some family history of anxiety with other members. Currently, she is married now, no previous divorces. The children are kind of broken up. Husband's name is Charlie North, 50-year-old male. They've been together for about 9 years. Relationship has been off and on, not real strong. He's now refusing to get help for his problems. He has an addiction of his own. She didn't go into a lot of detail on that one. She does state that she feels very angry. She states that she feels used by him. Also, additionally, she pointed out that she was really tired of him smoking weed in front of the kids, and when she would tell him to stop or not to do that, he would become extremely verbally abusive to her. Also, she states it's kind of odd that her husband Charlie changed his appearance, that he's now only wearing sheepskin chaps and leather shirts. Additionally, she went into identifying that he's had in the past a lot of women in his life. He's been cheating on her quite a bit. He joined a motorcycle gang called the Fuzzy Chap Boys, and also that he's been sleeping around with several clowns. I will admit, at first I thought she was using an expression, but it turns out that's not actually the case. She noticed that he was having some personality changes, kind of like that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing. But then she said that he's been using more props lately, and I asked her to explain that, and she did in a little bit. Apparently, he lost his job. He was working at a rubber chicken factory, and things went really south for him there, and he lost his job. She didn't go into a lot of detail. So, going back to her childhood, there is a history of physical abuse. States that her father would use a switch to punch her every time he lost his temper. That started around age 7 and went until age 16 when she ran away from home, where she joined the circus, literally, and that's where the clown thing kind of changed. Also, there was a history of some sexual abuse. She states that she was raped by a clown co-worker at the age of 16, that it was a one-time event, but apparently it was pretty violent. She said that there was a gun or a prop gun used. She's not sure which, but she did believe that she was going to die. She states that she did go to jail, or he went to jail, because she had gone to court for it, and he did do some time. She denied any emotional abuse growing up. From all of these events, she reports having some intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, definitely things that she's avoiding. Large groups, clowns, of course, people with makeup on of that sort. She does report having some loss of memory. But she also, it's kind of odd, she denies a lot of this being problematic, although she does report having it. and she does see herself now as a survivor and no longer as a victim. So I see that as a good point. Educational history. She completed the ninth grade, but then because she ran away, ended up having to get her GED and was able to go through 1 year of clown college through Barnum and Bailey Circus Clown School. Her employment been kind of sketchy the last few years, but she did report she had been employed as a sideshow freak, and the only problem is the pay is kind of low and there's no real benefits. Military history was denied. Legal history, she states that she did get in trouble for selling X and Special K at around the age of 18. She said she couldn't remember clearly what age she was at that point, but that she had been in trouble legally for that, for selling the substances to the dwarfs that she was working with. She did receive 4 years of probation and has not returned to the selling of those substances. Her actual substance use of her own includes several things. She's got cannabis, methamphetamines, cocaine. Onset for the weed was age 15. Last use was just a few days ago. She likes to use a Coke can. She'll pop holes in it and use a Coke can as a pipe and then throw it away. She says it's easy to replace. She has a history of doing this about 3 to 4 times a week. Averages about $25 to $35 a month. In any case, she also said that she did take a hit of acid not too long ago, and that covered her needs for several days. The stimulant use is meth and coke. Onset there was age 17, and that her last use of that was about 3 years ago. She was in a weekend bender use, averaged about $100 of powder cocaine when she would use. Some of the other addictive behaviors, shopping, gambling, pornography, all of that was denied. Prior psychiatric history, she does report having a history of ECT treatments, does not remember how many of them, but that they were highly effective for some time. Medication-wise, she's currently taking Synthroid, 150 micrograms every morning, and Lexapro, 20 milligrams every morning as well. She says they're working pretty good, and she is working closely with her primary care physician. Suicidal ideation was denied. She says she's never had thoughts of it, never had attempts of suicide. She does report a history of self-harm. Began cutting at the age of 13 and stopped at the age of 18. This is all in that time period when she ran away, a little before then, but then she did stop at 18, shortly after she got involved in the substance use. Psychotic symptoms, I didn't see any. There was none observed, and she denied having any history of hallucinations or delusional qualities. Her faith and spirituality, she stated that she was brought up Protestant, and that right now she is still Protestant and does believe but does not practice. Activities of daily life, sleep. She says that she's getting pretty good sleep most nights, doesn't have any problems getting to sleep or staying asleep, but sometimes does wake up, use restroom, that kind of thing. Nutritional assessment, she reported that she's getting 3 meals a day. She does do some snacking. She is a little overweight, more than she would like to be, and she stated that she would like to lose some weight. Hygiene, daily bathing, brushing teeth, pretty average daily kind of thing. So the assessment that I came to the conclude in our last session was that she is well grown and dressed, her appearance is appropriate, thought process is coherent, she makes good sense. There is a mild flight of idea, depending on what topic we're on, especially like with the clowns aspects. Affect and mood, she was demonstrating some psychomotor agitation there. She is anxious, and it was congruent in its appearance. There was also a good bit of crying with regards to the topic of her husband. Eye contact was well maintained. She does appear to be struggling with anger as well as different abuse memories that she's received from the husband that were verbally abusive. So With regards to some consultation, one of the things that I'm struggling with May is helping her process her memories and getting her to go back in to talk about those. At this point in time, she states that every time she sees a clown or thinks of a clown or has a flashback of a clown or even the rubber chickens, anything that reminds her of those early years in the circus and when she was actively functioning in the sideshow have really caused her to just shut down and she kind of numbs out. So far, we've tried several different approaches, um, tried using mindfulness and meditation, uh, done some other things. I haven't had a whole lot of results, and so I'd like to get your opinion on it. What do you think? Okay, so you have just heard an example of a case presentation. At this point in time, after you've concluded what information you want to share, you're going to expect some question and answer kind of moments. The person that's listening may have more questions for you. I have no doubt the way I presented it, you were probably formulating some of your own questions, which is excellent. You want to do that as you're listening because at some point in time, you will be approached to be the giver of feedback and the giver of guidance, and that's the process we go through. So you want to think about some of the things that you heard with regards to what may be going off in your mind as, hey, is this something that's happening? There's plenty of areas in this situation that are still blank. There's questions that are need to be asked that didn't go into a lot of detail. Um, so, as you are practicing your delivery of a case concept, a case presentation, which is the mixing of the biopsychosocial, your assessment, and what you have attempted, you want to, there's a lot involved. And so this is one of those things that it takes practice on how to deliver a case concept and a case presentation. It's not that easy to do. And on top of that, if you're dealing with any of your own anxiety on public speaking and having the eyeballs on you as you're giving information, it can make it even more difficult. Here's some suggestions on how to help receive that feedback and or guidance. You want to relax. First of all, take a deep breath. The person you're talking to that you're going to get feedback from, they're not there to judge you. They know you're asking for help. Um, and so one of the things that they're going to be doing is helping you walk through the thought process of where the client's at and where the client wants to go. One of the things that did not get covered on the case presentation is the client's goals. What is it they want to accomplish? Where is it they're wanting to go? By no doubt, you were able to guess that a post-traumatic stress disorder diagnosis is probably there. There's also the possibility, well, not possibility, but the likelihood of it being also a comorbid diagnosis of a substance use and abuse disorder. And so you're going to have questions coming back and forth. Now, when you're getting the feedback, this gives you an opportunity to also ask them some questions about helping to give you that guidance. Here again, what you're doing, just like with the theory orientation that you use, you're getting more roadmap, knowing, okay, so there's a couple more points on the roadmap that I need to look at, some areas that we need to go and talk about. In this case presentation, I would say safety is not yet obtained. The therapeutic alliance has not been fully developed. And so giving the client the opportunity to just talk more and develop that alliance is going to be huge. So having said that, I think I'm going to move us into wrapping this one up.